All right. Hello and welcome to this webinar training with Tom LaBelt from the Smart Brand Marketing podcast. He's also got a business called We Create Online Courses. Tom was a guest on LMS Cast, and it was a great episode. One of the things I really loved talking to Tom about was that he is a scientific guy. He's by the numbers. He has like this calculator that I've shared with you guys about figuring out if you should do your course or launch your course. But you just had like a data-driven approach of like, let's turn these dials and see if we should even do this. And I really appreciate that. But just before I hand it over to Tom, this is going to be an episode about selling your course, which is very important. At Lifter LMS, we help you with the tech, but if you can't market your course, you've got big problems. Tom is an expert in marketing, modern marketing, positioning. He's done a lot in the business world, and he's a creative person himself. He comes from a background in music. So I think you're going to really love what we get into today. I just want to welcome Adrian, Ann, Barb, Darren, Diane, Douglas. We've got two Jameses, Patty, Sheldon, Skip, and Will. If you are watching this on social media, you can type a question over there in the Facebook group or YouTube, and we'll get that answered. But just a little bit about format. This is a live webinar right here. We're live with Tom. And if you have questions, we're going to do a Q&A at the end. So you can type into the questions box or the chat. And we've even got a feature here in Zoom where you can raise your hand and you can like come on and talk live. So there's a bunch of different ways to ask questions. We're lucky to have Tom here with us. So please ask lots of questions. Also, at the end of this webinar, we're going to be giving away a $99 Lifter LMS license. So you can use that for a product or apply it to a more expensive product. And if you win and you're already a customer, we're going to extend your license out into the future, that value. So stick around to the end for that. Tom, thanks for coming on here with the crew over here at Lifter.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. Anytime we talk about creation and marketing of courses, man, that's my thing. Because you mentioned the creation course website, but my main focus has been the marketing for quite a bit now. It's much more exciting, than the creation of the courses. That's what I found. But people always ask like how I got started with the courses, and it definitely wasn't by choice. It was one of these opportunities that came up. So my SEO agency, which is still running, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing SEO for a gym in Atlanta. And one of the managers became a really good friend of mine. He's a Muay Thai champion. And, he was doing personal training a little bit, some classes. And he's like, Tom, can we take this online? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. So we did. And we failed miserably for about 1.5 years. And the reason is, it's super difficult taking something that you actually do in person like that, like training, Muay Thai training, and moving it online, right? So, it took quite a bit of effort, and we, did make it successful, but it took almost 2.5 years, and other friends asked me to help them with their courses, and it was much easier, but it still took a little bit. But I find that the physical stuff, is the most difficult to translate into the online. And once where you need feedback, physical feedback from someone all the time, right? But yeah, since then we've done over 75 or 80 clients. We have a 80% success rate. I would say the 20% that killed us were people with no budget that we took on for a little bit, and we're like, okay, well, we'll help you. And then we realized like, I'm losing money just by talking with them, and then they have no budget for anything. And that wouldn't be the worst thing, but usually it's the laziness and just calling stuff in, they're like, I get such delusional requests sometimes. Like I had a lady's like, okay, I don't have a course yet, no landing page, no funnel. I maybe have $500 to invest, but I would like a launch with 50K. And I'm like,
let's come down to reality for a second.
I'm like, yeah, that's really going to happen. But, if we can just get into it a bit, the main thing which I want to address before we go into these 7 things that I promised that we're going to go over is this whole big ideas and finding your passion and putting your skill online thing. Something shouldn't be online courses. Let's get that out the way first. Passion is not something you should focus on. Authenticity is not something you should focus on. And I can expand why that is in a minute. The main thing you should do is test. Find an easy channel where you can test things, and pre-sell. But let me give you an example. I had a client that came up to me and says, look, Tom, I've been trying to sell an online course since 1997. This was recently, so you can count the years. I've never made it successful, but I sell the same thing to in-person clients, and I make about 10K per sale. It's, he's been doing it for 30 years, and he just can't get it done. A year and a half ago, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to try everything. He signed up on Udemy, created 130 courses. He was reusing some videos, so it was very similar, but positioning was very different.
Okay. And
he let me into his account a week ago. He's made $250,000 this year from Udemy.
On Udemy, wow.
On Udemy, which means what? He made Udemy what? 10 million?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think most people here on this call get that joke because a lot of people started at Udemy. But and he's like, Tom, I'm a little scared of trying to put things on my site again because Udemy will be the next Amazon. I'm like, dude, no, you're an outlier. I've dealt with Udemy stuff, and this is a first case where I've seen someone make 250. I was like, dude, realistically, if you put this stuff on your website and you just know sort of what you're doing, you'll make $1 million easy from it, But I'm just saying, the testing thing, right? Like he's, and I looked over his funnel. Yeah, it was horrible. I understand. Like it's just completely not meant to sell courses, but still the testing process, right? You got to think about how much someone's got to grind to put 130 courses, even on Udemy, and at 250K, that's just out of this world. Although, the twist here is Udemy found something wrong with his social presence. Okay.
And they deducted 600 reviews from him almost instantly. They said he was trying to get people to leave reviews. Where, yeah, he asked people, like, if you like the course, could you please leave a review at the end? But still, you have zero control with Udemy, so I think people get that thing, right? You don't have a business if you don't have the list. These are very simple things, But let me just go back to the authenticity, because this is a big thing I'm hearing lately. And people are saying, like, I need to be authentic. I'm like, no, that is not your focus. You should not worry about being authentic. And here's why. People don't care. Look, Chris, if I take you to a hospital, right, and you have a surgery that's happening, you're opened up on a table, a surgeon's on top, he's doing his thing, and all of a sudden the surgeon goes, I'm feeling authentic right now. And I think I'm just going to meditate for about 10 minutes. How would you feel about that? How would you feel about this authenticity? No, man. Like, get on the table and fix me right now. Look, people want professionals.
Yeah.
They buy from you because they trust you and respect you. They don't need to like you. Trust me, they don't need to like you. You can be polarizing, which is great. It's even better for business. But being authentic? Nobody cares, man. Like, look, that just means, like, have a personality. You shouldn't focus on having a personality. You're probably like make up something else. Like you'll make a whole new persona, right? Don't focus on that. Be professional. That's what people really want.
Most people want their problem solved, right? I mean, they're not buying because they want a course. They want, something fixed, or they want to take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah. So, that's another thing, which I think is common knowledge now, right? Like people don't look for information. They look for transformation. But that doesn't go far enough. I see a lot of online courses with transformation on their landing pages, and it doesn't sell, and that's because there's no value tied into that. You're not presenting the value right. So if we go into it, the first thing that you need to get right is positioning. If you want to sell your course, you need to find a want, don't find a need. Nobody cares about a need. You go to McDonald's, If you find a couple people and be like, look, I got a weight loss course and you should take it because, you should take it. I mean, look at you. They're going to be like, nah, man, I don't want this. I only keep my chicken nuggets. Like, they'll probably beat your ass and kick you out the McDonald's. Like, you need to find people that want it, right? If you go to people that are starting to go to a gym, and then they're just feeling very uncomfortable about themselves, like there's a want there, What they need is definitely not what sells courses, is the want, right? And then you really need to tie in that transformation to value. So let me give you an example of that, because I just had this with a client. He teaches how to use an app, right? And this app has helped him make money because he uses it as a side job, which pays him quite a bit, per I think he does. He charges around $1,000 for the course, and the people were not buying. And the key really was to tie the value of the opportunity, right? Of letting people know that, look, there is a side job available, because they might not even know about this, right? That pays, $1,500 to $2,500 to $5,000 per thing that you do. And this app is what you use to fill those gaps and find those, things that you can work on. And that's what really made him, change all of his funnel and able to sell this course, and it wasn't $1,000. I think we went to like around $500 on it, because it was a bit outrageous. Like, his competition was selling it for $10 each, So sometimes you do got to look at that. But if you tie it into the value, and his competition was not, it was just very like, just buy things, just buy it, and it'll work. But I do find that to be a big problem with a lot of courses, right? That outcome that you're speaking about and the thing you're teaching, what's that transformation worth? Like, what will the person look like, feel like, and accomplish at the end? And sometimes it might be something a little further down the line, but you need to bring those in and tie those in, right? Like, I have a sales experience of over 15 years. When I sold life insurance before, we didn't sell the part that, look, you're going to die, someone else is going to get the money. We sold dreams. The dream was your cash value at 60, 65, and, the insurance company forced me to show this on a piece of software. It definitely wasn't conservative estimates. They were playing very loose with these numbers. But what we were selling is like, look, when you're 65, you'll have $1 million in cash value. And now you can take all the vacations you want. This is your retirement. This is when you pull out. This is when you fulfill your bucket list. We never mentioned, the dark parts of the life insurance. It was always selling dreams. And you don't want to do that too much with online courses, because then you're going to be one of these, scammy guys. But you need to tie in the value somehow. And that's sometimes where you might need outside help if you don't have a marketing mind. Because that's another thing I've learned, there are so many hats to wear as an online course creator. And I think Chris actually kind of, opened my eyes to that.
The teacher and the marketer are very different people.
Yeah. But even, with the teacher, right? Like, okay, you're a teacher, one. You need to get the technical parts done, too. You need to, there's quite a few things you need to learn to just create an online course, right? And the technical itself too. I mean, and then you've got to be a course designer too, which is different than just being a teacher. You pretty much got to write the book, figure out how to print the book, read the book, make sure that people join to read the book,
and
pay you
build a publishing business. Yeah.
Yeah, look, there's so many moving pieces in it, and I get it.
Yeah.
But, if your course is not selling, the main thing I would say is, are you tying in enough value to that transformation? Because the transformation is not enough. I've had people try to sell a meditation, and the thing they were selling was no different than an article I would find just for free online. And they didn't tie it into anything other than you're going to be more calm. Well, what's that worth? What do I get from that? Because just being calm, yeah, that's nice, but why should I pay for that? It's going to stress me out to take my money out of my wallet. So it's got to definitely beat that urge too. Whatever you're selling, Yeah, it's not simple. It's definitely not going to be one of these webinars where I tell people, like, look, this is a simple thing to do. We put a lot of thought into it. This is why, I do have to charge quite a bit too for some clients, because it's thinking work. And, you got to understand, like, you only have 2 or 3 hours of really good thinking per day. Once that's done, it's done. So, you definitely have to do a lot of research, and that's the basis of sales. And that's what we're all doing when we sell online courses. The next thing I would talk about is the price. That's like the second question I get asked all the time. How much should I charge for my course?
I think I was asked that like 3 times today.
Yeah.
I've been talking to people.
Well,
I want to hear your answer.
Actually, let me hear yours. I want to see what you respond. What's your like off the cuff response to this?
Well, first you have to know your audience and what kind of prices prices they're comfortable with. The second thing is the value of the transformation. Like, what's the value there? What does the competitive marketplace look like? Those are some of the highlights of what I give them. But I stay away from every like hour of video is worth $20. I don't say anything like that. So.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with the value of the transformation. As to the competition, like I said, the guy I helped selling courses for $500, competition is charging 20. So sure. The first thing I say is don't approach it with the thought of going broke or breaking even, right? I see huge influencers even charge $47 for a course that in person, if they were teaching this in person, they would get $25,000 for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why? And there's never a clear answer. It's like, oh, I just don't know what to charge online. I'm like, well, so try not to go broke. How about that, right? If you are using paid traffic, and this is something we'll talk about in a minute, but paid traffic, people sell this as like the easiest way of making money quick, on Facebook.
That's definitely having a moment right now of like that. That's the story, but
that's the story. That's the market story, and we have these stories all the time. You just need to understand them a little bit, and you will after this webinar. When you're going after Facebook traffic, on average, it will take you between $150 to $250 to close cold traffic. On average, from my experience. What does that mean? If your course is priced below that, you're broke. You'll never make money, unless you're an outlier, and that's not going to last. Someone else will fill that gap, or the channel's going to close, or the ad will stop working. We get this all the time, right? So you need to think from a business standpoint. If I'm selling something and it takes me $150 or $250 to sell it, well, that thing does need to be sold for about $300. And now I got to figure out the most important thing. How do I tie enough value to that to make it worth the $300? But you can't approach it with, it's only, $50, but I'll spend $200-$300 selling it, or just listening to people saying like, eventually you'll break even, or you'll find that success, that big idea. Look, we have maybe 10 or 20 big ideas in our lifetime. Maybe. Most of them are just average ideas. Don't hope for the lottery with the online course. You just being conservative, being realistic, being systematic. That's how all the successful courses that I've dealt with become successful. It's not by hoping, wish and a prayer, these like, when we were kids, and when we played basketball, that 3-pointer, right at the end, we'd close our eyes and be like, it didn't go in 70% of the time. But
maybe 90%.
Yeah, maybe 90. But that was a thing we did, like that was the end. Like, it's, the game's about to be over. We're closing our eyes. Bam, I'm going to be a star. Don't do that with online courses. It's like if you miss that basket and you don't have a budget to continue, you go out of business. The number one goal in business for everyone is stay in business. And I think, Chris will tell you guys too, if you can stay in business for 15 plus years or 20, like you are successful already. Like you have beat the average by far. I'm not talking about being millionaires, billionaires, we have outliers, but just staying in business for that long is super hard. And with the online course, I don't come across a lot of people who say, oh, I want this course to be around in 10, 15 years. And I think that's another problem, right? Like these easy wins, easy hits. I'm going to win the lottery with my course. Never work again. It's still sales. It's still marketing. It's still a business. If the moment you stop prospecting, you die. And right now, Facebook does make it easier, but not as easy as it used to, And a lot of people that had that easy position of, I just throw in $20 into Facebook and I make 100. Now they're in this, I'm throwing 90 in, making 100. And they're still not prospecting in any other way, right? So, that's the truth about business, though. It's fun. That roller coaster, it's fun. I like having these adventures. One of my favorite rides at Universal was this roller coaster in the dark that goes backwards. And I would go on over and over again. And my friends were like, Tom, like, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep? I'm like, dude, this is just like running a business. you just don't know what's happening, but it's okay at the end. Yeah.
That's a really good point about the 15 years, or I've heard it called the stage test. Like if you could see yourself on stage in 5 years, maybe then you should do it. Because the Hail Mary with your eyes closed is really not a good strategy.
It's not, but it's a strategy I encounter way more than I would like to. And I seriously see this often, like this lady, no course, no landing page, no skills whatsoever, $500 for a month to her name. I'm going to make $50K a month. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Have you ever made $15,000 in a year? It's these Hail Marys. It's, that's not how you start a business or run one. My friend, who actually got me into podcasting, we just had a talk, and hope you guys don't mind. It's a good story. You can open my eyes to a few things. He started a company, got it to over, I think, 2 million in revenue, and create such a system where he didn't have to work at all in the company at all. That's very incredible. Hard to find. He sold the company for, I think, $4.5 million. One of the main problems with selling it was the buyers could not believe that this company worked completely on its own. And he sold it. And now he's very upset that he sold the company because everything he's trying to invest in is much worse than the company he sold. So what he told me is this, I guess it's sort of like a analogy or something he heard in I think Norway, and it's about staying on the bus, right? Imagine every level or every year of your business as a bus stop, right? And what most people do is they get to stop 3, get off, and find a new bus, which is sexier and hopefully better. But what they don't realize is they're getting on the first stop again, second stop, third stop. So sometimes when people say, oh, I have 20, 30 years of experience, they have 10 times 3-year experience, right?
Right.
They're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And the main thing that he was trying to knock into my brain is like, Tom, when you find something that you really enjoy, stay on the fucking bus. Don't get off. Don't get off on the 3rd stop. Don't get off on the 10th stop. Just stay on the bus. That's the way to make things happen. One of my favorite books of the last year or two is Shoe Dog. Have you read that, Chris? About the guy,
about Nike.
The Nike guy. Yeah. If you read the bus story that he went through, it makes your business seem like Candyland. Some of the things he had to go through, I'm just like, I actually read that as motivation. Anytime I have a problem in my business, I read the problems he had, and I'm good. This is. It'll take me 2-3 days to figure this out. We're completely good. I recommend that book for almost everyone here. Shoe Dog. It's the Nike story. So the next thing you need to get done in a successful course is getting the email strategy right. Right? And this is something which is counterintuitive a little bit based on what I've seen that works. People put too much effort into building complicated funnels, and I blame it all on Russell and ClickFunnels. This whole, you got to build funnels like it's a new thing. Like the customer move from one place to the end, like that's a new thing. We've been doing this for hundreds of years, but he's like, funnels will change your business. I'm like, really? That's the first thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Nothing against funnels and funnel hackers, but look, you can create a very simple funnel. And what I found with emails, sure, you can still use that same strategy that people recommend. You can, jab, 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 hook, which means give value, ask for a sale. You should still hit them super hard the first 7 days, because that is when most people will buy from you, if they haven't bought yet. But what I found is that instead of building a $10,000 funnel, create an email sequence that stays in front of people for about a year. Just stay in front of them. As we mentioned before, they will buy because they trust and respect you. How do you get that? By not going away, for the most part. So when you think of that, a year, it's a long time, it's a lot of emails. No, not really. Just think about sending one email a week, but just for a very, very long time. So this person's like, wow, as long as you're giving value, nobody will get upset for getting the emails. You do got to give some value, And I like Facebook groups as my testing grounds for what's valuable, what engages, what doesn't. It's the most painless, I guess, place, right? You post like 3 things in a week. People engage with one, they forget the other 2. Fine. I use this one as my next email. But staying in front of people, it's huge. I have a friend who has a course in Israel that he sells. Israel, he mentioned to me, I think has like 3 to 4 million people. I could be off a little bit, but it's not more than 8. It's a very small market. Made $1 million a year. Very simple funnel. Just getting people to a webinar, from the webinar to a sales page, from a sales page to a close. Like it's the simplest funnel you could imagine in the world, and he tried it all. And the one thing that did it was staying in front of people. And he said these residual sales, and some of them would start coming in after a year and a half, because he was tracking this. It was huge. People just wake up after like a year and be like, this guy's been preaching the same thing for a year. He's not going away. He's definitely earned my trust and respect. Like he is in my mailbox every single week for longer than most of these online marketers even survive, And that was his whole strategy. That's what I think the 80-20 is of emails. Don't overcomplicate it. Just stay in front of these people for a long time. Now, if you have something that's very time sensitive, yeah, you're screwed. Like if it's something like, you need to buy this within a week or 2, or, that problem disappears. Well, that's not a business in the first place. That's the thing we mentioned, will your course survive the 5-10 years? Like how long are you in this for? And if you want to get a lottery, just go buy a lottery. I'm in Thailand right now. I always come here for the winters, and the lottery culture is insane. Yeah. It's insane to a point where I have like people running up to me sometimes on lottery day and looking at the registration plate on my car or on my bike. And they're writing it down. I have a red bike. That's the only one that I could rent for this price. And red is a very popular color. So when people see something red, they're like, this is lucky. And they write down the number and run to the lottery to try to get those lottery tickets. Dude, it's incredible. But they have the mentality of, the one quick win, and yeah, they play up how many people win, but, they forget how many people lose. But I just wanted to mention that because I've never seen anything like that before. If you've seen a lottery culture here, like it's to a point where if I'm going to the gym on lottery day, the sides of the street are full of vendors. And the next day, when people realize they lost, malls, streets, everything's empty. It's like, we spent all our money yesterday. We're done. You know? So yeah, don't do that with your courses. With conversions now, that's another thing that you need to be successful. You need to convert clients.
And before you get into that, I just want to say, I see the people coming in with questions in the chat. Keep the questions coming. We're going to get to all that. So keep asking. Tom's covering a lot of cool stuff here, and he's going to trigger a lot of different ideas and questions in your mind. So be sure to ask. And I see our hand up. Yeah, we'll get to you in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be around, for about 30 minutes after this to answer them. With conversions, right? The one thing I've heard lately is, figure out how to plug your funnels and plug the leaks and find these, I'm like, yeah, that's all fine. And we do want data. We do want goals and conversions set up in your analytics. We do want the heat maps. We do want things like that so we can understand what's working, what's not working on a sales page. I've worked with huge clients who had 29 calls to action on the top of their homepage. And I'm like, what are you doing? What happened? It's like, do you wake up once a month with a new idea and just plug that on top of there? Like, what are you doing? And after looking at the heat maps, only 2 or 3 things were getting clicked on. And one of them was a picture that was actually not a link. So I'm like, look, you got to look at what the people are doing.
Yeah.
But don't treat your customers as something that just goes through a funnel. The customer goes through a sales process, right? And your online course, and actually any website, if you look at mine, I sell a service, and it's the same thing. You lead people through a sales process, right? So I don't know if there are people here that are in sales, but let me kind of break down to you what a sales process entails, what that looks like, and the things that each one of your websites and on your funnels need to hit on. The first thing, when you prospect, it's not any different than cold calling or going door to door. You need to get people into your funnel somehow, right? You can do it through outreach, advertising, pull marketing. There's a lot of different ways, but you need to prospect. And you need to understand that the first place where people come into your website, it's like coming into the store. You pulled them in somehow, right? They're coming in now, and you need to engage them in a conversation, So before you sort of interrupt the scrolling zombies online, they're going through their daily things, and then you just didn't interrupt, like, hey, I'm here. And then you got to pull them into a conversation, right? Then the next thing you need to do is you got to move the customer to your side, to what you're trying to talk to or about in an emotional, logical way. So you need to just engage them, right? When you interrupt someone, you don't just scream like, hey, I'm here, I'm Tom, I'm selling. That doesn't really engage anyone. You need to go a little smoother, right? Like, meet them halfway in somehow. There's a book called, I think, Scientific Advertising, which kind of mentions that. And I think there's one more. I would have to look. I can maybe send you a list of a few books, but one that actually talks about how to interrupt people and kind of get them over that little transition, right? So you interrupt them and then you move them to your side. Like, for me, it's a bit just habitual because I've been selling for so long, but it is a skill, right? And just think of it that way. Like, when you interrupt a conversation, you're at a conference or something, and there's 2-3 people talking. You get in, you say something. You need to kind of say something familiar to what they're saying already, and then you need to transition into what you want to talk about, right? So
you're not trying to close right away either.
No. We're not talking about that at all. This is all you're doing is engaging them and moving them onto your table. So, like, you're switching topics a little bit, but not abruptly, right? You're not like, okay, people are talking about a soccer game or a football game here, and you're skimming in like, have you seen the new movie? You just, but really, that's, you need to understand that the sales process is just moved online. It's nothing different, because I see too many people hiding behind keyboards and I'm going to be very entertaining and slick and witty and use all these tips and tricks. And I'm like, fine, you do that. And I'll be super simple and sell. But okay, once you get that, you need to set up some kind of a problem. You need to put something on a plate that they're looking at and like, yeah, we have that. And that's a big part of your sales process, and then you need to show them how you tackle that problem in your way, right? You can put some success stories around it. You can, put your methodology, but you need to show them that big problem and then how you yourself, your system for tackling it. And the next thing you will do is handle objections. And what does that mean? Even if you're not trying to sell and you just try to get people on your side, they're going to find something wrong with your thinking. That's just a part of being a human. You tell me like, oh, the Lakers are going to win. I'm like, no, they're not. And that's handling the objection. Right? I'll tell you why not. And you got to tell me, nah, this is why I think they will win. And after you do all that, then you can start closing. You ask for the sale, right? You can keep asking, like, do you have any more questions, any more objections? And your website should be doing that. Like if you look on my landing page for remarketonlinecourses.com, like there's a big piece at the bottom about all the objections I get from clients, and I answer each one of them before I ask for that close. And the close for me is get on you got to take a quiz, because I need a lot more information from you. So you could even think of it as an application process for your course. And then you book a call, and then I still figure out if I can help you, and then I close, right? But with a course, it's not that complicated, because each person comes with a similar transformation they want. It's not like me, I get like, all types of things. So you can close after that, but you got to prospect, you got to interrupt people, you got to engage them, move them to your side. And remember the emotional and logical thing too. Don't take one or the other, right? Because I do people, saying, tell stories. That's great. That's an emotional way of engaging, but they're not being logical. Or I see people just putting numbers in front of them and saying like, this is the reasons why. And and some people are like, this doesn't move me in any way. Like, I don't feel like it. This guy's boring. Sounds like, So you need to do both. And once again, that's one of the hats, right? You need a copywriting hat. Copy is very important. You can't call that in. You might need to get help. There's a reason some of these best copywriters get paid $100,000 or more for one page of copy. Do you need to spend that? No, you can get someone for $500 or $1,000. You can read, I think it's called Breakthrough Advertising, or there's a book like that, which kind of, look, out of the copywriters I've seen come on the scene lately, all they did is read that book, and now they're all professionals. Okay, like this was, I think it's Breakthrough Advertising. I can look for it in the house somewhere, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And it's just the one book. They read that, they're like, we got this, right? So if you just read this book, you're now at the same level as almost every recent copywriter on the scene, right? So you can figure this out, but if not, just maybe outsource it, and you got to follow up. Just because you're closing doesn't mean a person's going to say yes, and a no doesn't mean they don't want it. That's one big thing. You learn as you sell. It usually takes about 5 points of contact to sell someone in a regular sales job. So I would say it probably takes about the same online, and we found that to be a case. But this process is not any different just because we moved it online. So that's where they're still human beings. So that's where the emails come in, right? That's when you give some value, you ask for a close. You say things like, I've never had a dissatisfied student. You might show another thing, how you transform someone. You might say like, look, I'm thinking about maybe raising prices. You have different strategies of getting people just a little bit, pulled in. Because the thing is like, look, you can't be scared of sales. I have never seen anyone succeed, anyone in online courses or any business or any other venture that has a bad dissociation with sales, with the sales process, right? If you have something valuable that you think is going to help someone's life, you need to push that, and you need to push it hard. And I push it super hard when I sell. Like I get relentless, and until a person's like, dude, I give up, I'm still at it, And when you think about the products and things that we see sold around, like they're the same way. I keep seeing the new Transformers trailer all the time now. Is that going to add any value to anyone's life? No. But they're still pushing it because that's how you sell. So if you create a sales process that isn't salesy, and you can. It's super easy, with things like pull marketing. That just means giving really good content out, and it works for me, so I know it can work for you. You put out really good content. You don't even ask for a sale or for anything. You just put out good content. People check you out. They find you. They look at what you're doing. If you treat them like human beings, and that's what I mean, move the sales process online, they'll go through your website and feel like, oh, wow, this person understands me. They get my problem. This is how they handle it. I want to talk to them, or I want to buy their course. It's not that difficult, but you got to stay on top of it. And follows up are super important, because you know what? One of the main reasons someone might say no is because there's a couple questions you haven't addressed. So if you don't stay on top of it, if you don't ask them those additional questions, you won't get that sale. But it's all it takes most of the time. A couple emails back and forth, or being like, oh, wow, I'm getting asked this a lot. I need to put this on my website. And now, bam, that question doesn't get asked anymore. You get more closes, right? You need to move that conversation you're having with people when you're selling, and move that whole thing and put it in your copy. Often that's the easiest way of writing your website. Sell some in person, sell some on the phone, and the exact things you mentioned to make that sale, just write those out. Nothing else. Don't be cute. Don't be witty. Don't be entertaining. Just move the sales process onto the website. Are we good with that so far?
Yeah, man. That's really good.
Let me see where we're going next with it. Remarketing. That's the first paid traffic that you should hit, is the remarketing traffic. Here's the number that I'm seeing for cold and remarketing, with clients spending a lot more than some of these people trying to sell you the Facebook idea, right? These are clients putting 20 to 40K a month into marketing. The remarketing gets about 3 to 5x return. That's the remarketing on average. The cold traffic, 0.75 to 1.5. So if you just look at that, the lowest of each of those numbers, if you're making less than $1, you're making 75 cents on $1 with cold traffic and $3 on $1 from remarketing, what saves your ass at the end? Is the remarketing, right?
Is it, can you just define it? Is that remarketing from any visit or from an opt-in, or like how do you describe remarketing?
Sure, I'll go completely into that. But I want to just give an example of a client first, and we'll go into that. Just had a client come on board. He's making $20,000 a month, 15 sometimes, 15 to 20, but 20 lately because it's good months. You got that Thanksgiving and all this stuff, all from organic traffic, right? And he used the common knowledge of the market, and he's like, I'm going to try some paid ads. Sunk $5,000 in, made 0 sales. I seen it. His audience was off. Their copy was off. There was a lot of problems with it. We set up remarketing, moved to 30K for only $2,000 spent within a month, right? Often, the cold traffic is much cheaper if it's really free. If you can pull it off, and there are a lot of ways to doing this. He writes a lot on his blog. Most of his traffic comes from a YouTube channel. So that's really the only 2 places where and he's got some really good lead magnets too. But he got killed on the cold traffic, and this is someone that's super successful already. I mean, to get 20K with organic and being as scattered as my friend is, it was great. I mean, I was like, dude, and he is super scattered, one of these like 20 ideas at the same time. And, my biggest challenge with this client was to simplify, eliminate, let's come up with a plan and let's stick to the plan. That was the main thing. But with remarketing, we work backwards, right? Your first remarketing would be went to a sales cart, did not check out. Well, first step. Second one, seen the sales page, did not go to the cart. Third one, seen content, did not go see a sales page, right? Are you seeing what I'm doing? You work backwards, right? You work backwards from the most important one, which is like, when you have someone that's got items in a cart in a market, right? Or Walmart or whatever you go to, or, Shopko, and they have all these things in a cart and they don't go through the checkout lane.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. And it's something, like something is really wrong. You got to picture it in that way. It's not like a click of a button. This is a person that put things in their cart and they left before the checkout process.
Which is uncomfortable to walk by the cashier and walk out at the end.
Well, you got to think of the whole thing, right? They came in with a plan. They went around the counter and they went around all these departments. They put stuff in the cart. They rolled up all the way and then they left.
Yeah.
There could be a mental illness, or it could be a big problem, a red flag, and you need to figure out what that is. And one of the things we like to do is we like to ask them, we've seen that you started checking out and you left. What happened? How can I help? And it could be just, something triggered them to leave. And maybe you didn't put enough social proof, like that little hamster thing kicked in the back of their brain and be like, I don't trust this guy. Like at the last minute, It could be that the value just wasn't presented enough, and he was about to impulse buy, and then he said no. But it could be something as simple as a button didn't work, or something technical, or he had some kind of a blocker on his browser, and you have some JavaScript on your checkout page, and things just didn't work out as they should have been. It could be something.
Phone call.
Yeah, or a phone call. Yeah, a lot of interruptions happen too. Yeah. Yeah, so it could be anything, but that's the main thing. You need to figure out why people are leaving with their carts full. And then you just work backwards. Once you figure that out, you just look at, okay, they've read your sales page. They never wanted to check out. That seems like a problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, are you really handling the sales process well? And this is where the heat maps come in place really well. You can see the things that people click on. I use Hotjar for a lot of clients because it's got a free service. You can get up to 3 heat maps free with them. But anyways, you see where the people are clicking, but you also see what's, for me, more important, is how far down are they scrolling. Because if you see people, like 70% of people leave on a certain paragraph or picture, that's a problem. That means you've just done something. And it could be the thing right above, Whatever you set there is making people say, nah, this is not it. So switch it and test it, right? So remarketing is the number one paid traffic that you should play with if you have the balls to play with paid traffic. Because look, Facebook and Google, they're notorious for only one thing, and that's taking your money.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's what they do. That's their game, right? It's Mark and I don't know, Sergio, whoever from there. They set up these boards, and the thing is, like, how much money were you able to take this month? You have a board of directors just asking them that. That's the whole goal. It's not to help you sell. They have it's like with the government, right? Like, their job is to take as much taxes from you as possible, and your job is to keep as much as possible. This is like, it's always a never-ending battle with these things. Now, let's move to ads, because I see this being a big piece too. People take a lot of time to write up their copy for their websites. They build these elaborate funnels. They get the email part marketing right, and then they phone in the ads.
What do you mean by phone in? They just don't put the effort into it?
They just don't put any effort into them. It's like the last piece, which, I'm like, look, this is the most important one because you're spending money on it. This is the top of the funnel.
Yeah. So
take some care with the ads. But, the bigger issue here is, once again, the common knowledge of the market. And I don't know why, ever since I've been posting in your group and a couple other groups, I have all these other people who are marketing courses and helping people create courses become my friends, right? And I'm like, look, I don't know why you guys are doing this, because the only reason I would talk to you is to look on your websites and see if you're doing anything better and just borrow that. So that's like the first thing. But when I'm seeing their offers and what they post, because, I just accept the friend invitations as long as like you don't look too sketchy. They're like, look, all you need to do is create 3 to 5 variations of your ads. Start with $5 to $10 per day. And eventually you're going to make money. And I'm like, okay. And they keep selling this idea. It's so easy. I'm doing this all the time. I called a lot of them on this bullshit. But okay, let me just put there's a different story which I've heard also, and it'll kind of make you realize how much of a nonsense idea this is. A monk goes across a bridge, right? And this is like a Chinese story, and I don't know which animal he's carrying. I forgot that. But let's say it's like a tiger. He carries a baby tiger or whatever across the bridge. But I think that in the story it was like a small elephant, a baby elephant, right? And he carries that across the bridge, and every single day he does that. And eventually the elephant grows to whatever it is. But since he's been carrying it every single day, now he can carry this huge elephant. And these were my 2 problems with this bullshit story. And it's very similar to the ads. First, an average person will not be able to lift a baby elephant in the first place, right? Because it's too heavy. We went to the zoo here. We've seen the elephants in Thailand. They run around. I can't lift that thing. And I go to the gym a lot. And these are babies. The second thing is, look, even with humans, right? You carry a baby for a certain amount of time. At some point, what does the mom say? You realize you're heavy. I can't carry you any longer, right? So this is the bullshit thing with the elephant. Now with the ads, it's the same thing. It's so easy. So you should just start doing the Facebook ads. That's like carrying the elephant. For some people, that's too much and you will fail. 2, just because you're doing it for a long time doesn't mean you're going to make money. It could be that the elephant becomes too heavy. You just run out of cash and you're done. It became too heavy, too much of a strain on your budget. So it's not usually, actually most often, a good idea to start with paid traffic when you're starting out. What I like to do is to get people who don't have big budgets, and even sometimes if they do, but if they're just hustlers, get their 20, 30 initial sales organically. Hustle for them a little bit, figure out the sales process. And that could be going on Quora. If your niche works with Quora, great. Go on Quora, start answering questions, pull people in with pull marketing. I've done it for my business, and we answered as a team with my company, I think 20 or 30 questions in 1 week. And we had over 4,000 views.
On Quora.
On Quora. Around 200 of those came to the website. And we closed 3 of them at the end because we were tracking it. This was from 1 week's work, right? And I have other ways of getting clients, so I don't do it, but I test these things, right? And we've done it with some online course creators, and it's the same thing. For some niches, it works great. You can pull people through YouTube. You can use LinkedIn. I have a person I was marketing their course for who does specialized training for chiropractors. And we did the Facebook thing. It worked okay. But what worked much better is reaching out to these chiropractors individually through LinkedIn. And we used Linked Helper. That's a tool to do that. Made the process super simple. But that's how we reached the whole market. He has about 96,000 people in this whole market, and we could reach them super easily through LinkedIn. All of them. Yeah. Because the thing with Facebook was being cute and trying to add more people to the group all the time and wasting money, So we did it that way. There are different ways. You got to figure out, once you position it. So the main thing is, with positioning too, what you will need for this, you got to figure out exactly what you are selling and who you're selling it to. It's so important, right? And sometimes you got to just rack the shotgun too and just, spray that message everywhere in the beginning and see what kind of comes back to figure this out. But you can't skip this step. And the thing you will gain from having a channel like this is, one, you're not relying on paid traffic, which you shouldn't. I tell this to every client, even making a lot of money from Facebook. I'm like, you shouldn't rely on this. What happens if Mark pulls the trigger on something and breaks it? I think we had this problem before the Black Friday, right? The ads weren't working for 3 days. People couldn't access accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, right?
Yeah.
Great timing, Mark. But yeah, so, one, you're going to learn the sales process, which then you can move to your website. As we mentioned, you move that conversation you're having with the clients, and now you have your whole funnel, your whole copy. And two, now you know how to get sales, how to get clients. That's the most powerful thing to have as a business person, as an online course creator too. Is like, if you know at any moment in time how to get a client, and you can get a client, that's gold. That confidence is just unstoppable. I mean, imagine, like, for me, I know when I'm in the US, if I'm broke, I can just go through a couple businesses and I can sell them something. And I've done it before. When I was starting the SEO agency, all I did is go to my mechanic a couple places. I'm like, look, let me get you traffic. Let me do it this way, that way. Some of the things I didn't know how to do yet, so I learned. But I still got paid for it before I did them. Just having that confidence is huge. You can't rely on someone else like me or whoever else you hire. And that's even scarier if it's your actual employee that's controlling your business, the success of your business. Like, you're screwed, man. He could ask for a $25,000 raise and you have nothing. You have no leverage, because this is don't make your first hire a salesperson. I know that's something most people want to do, but don't do it. Outsource everything else. The sales should be controlled by you as much as possible. And don't phone in the ads. You're going to lose so much money. You need to make sure, and the thing with ads too, don't make them too creative or witty or whatever it is to get the clicks. Getting clicks and getting buyers in is very different. Make sure that the message correlates a lot with the transformation and what you're selling, right? It needs to, because those people that come on the website, they need to be interrupted in the right way. You can't come in and be like, oh, look at these cool pictures, or like, wow, look how witty and funny, and then now I'm selling something serious, right? Like I have a client that sells motorcycle safety training, right? And his initial ads were about a story about Bob. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything, And, he wrote this story about some makeup guy, which, we've all seen so much advertising. We know it's a bullshit story. Bob had this problem, and then Bob went on a bike, and Bob fell, and then Bob found my 5 things about, and then Bob seen that, and then Bob went on the bike again, and Bob passed. I'm like, ew. And look, I'm not making fun of him, because that's what a lot of people do. He just, he asked for my help, and I said, look, this is the main thing you're doing wrong. Stop talking about Bob. Why don't you talk about yourself at least? Give people some real problems, and don't give them like nonsense like, he's seen my video about the 5 steps and it changed his life. How many things really changed your life from YouTube that you've seen ever? These are not life-changing things. But anyway, don't bullshit the people. Don't be cute or funny or, make up. I know stories are important, but don't make up like these nonsense stories about Bob. It's not going to help you sell anything. People will come like, what is this? It's just a badly written story. I'm out. And the last thing is traffic. And the traffic we already mentioned. If you don't have a large budget, your initial clients need to be organic. You have to put in the work. You need to learn how to prospect. Look, I know paid traffic is the easiest, but only if you know what you're doing and have a big budget for it. Because it might take you 4 to 6 months to break even or make a profit if you're just starting out, because you're going to have to adjust a lot of things. You'll need to pivot. Your ads might not be working. Your positioning, your copy, there's a lot of testing involved. And yeah, you can do it quicker. We can sometimes knock it out of the park in 20 to 40 days, but we do know what we're doing. and it doesn't work with everyone. The best case scenarios for my clients is when someone had something working, it stopped working because, ads run out, they just go dry, and we had to just figure out that part because we knew the funnel's great. It sold before, selling 40K before, it's going to sell 40K again. We just need to figure out what that front of the funnel needs to look like now. We just need to fix that, right? But if you need to fix everything, which means you're trying to get the top of the funnel, which most people are so excited about, I got to get a lot of traffic. Well, if your funnel doesn't convert, if the sales process doesn't make sense, you're not going to make any money, right? It's easier to do it with organic clients because you can walk them through. You can actually answer objections in person, through email, through the phone, however you can. And you can lead them through and figure out, okay, these are all the steps I need to make the funnel work. Let me send a few more people through in an organic way, make sure it's still selling. And then when you have a system that sells, you use paid traffic to scale the working system. You don't start testing with paid traffic, especially on small budgets. And I know a lot of people have small budgets, $500 to $1,000. That's a small budget. You will not make money. You might test for 3 years and still not do what some of my bigger clients do in a month because they'll come in hard. So you need to understand that, sometimes when you look at successful people and you reverse engineer things, which is great to do, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you're not copying people on the same level as you, right? I had a friend that I spoke with about this with, and he works in the e-commerce niche. And he says he has people coming up and like, look, I'm going to build a store and I'm going to compete with Amazon, right? And the thing is, they're not on the same level as Amazon. They're not even in the same game as Amazon. Not only that, they're not even watching the same game. They don't even have tickets to the game yet. But yet they're trying to compete with Amazon. So, I've seen case studies of like, how does Anthony Robbins sell so many courses or, get $1 million people worth of traffic through or whatever. And I'm like, look, this is great. But if you've noticed Anthony Robbins, what he teaches and what he does is completely different. He tells you to try a lot of different things, don't just follow one, to keep trying. But he doesn't do that. Tony does the same thing over and over and over again because he's got something that works now. But for someone starting out, that's the worst thing you can do. You need to be flexible. You need to test. You need to do these things, which these higher up guys don't have to worry about anymore. So yeah, maybe if you're at that close level, if they're just one level above you, yeah, you reverse engineer and you start copying. But you can't copy, that high when you're still starting out. It's just the wrong role model. Sometimes they say it's about timing too. When you have a problem, the master appears. Well, if you follow the wrong master, you're definitely not going to make it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Tony Robbins has been doing Date with Destiny for like 40 years.
40 years, yeah, but I still see people saying like, look, I'm going to use the same funnel as Tony. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Amazon. You don't even have tickets to that same game. Yeah. Like, why are you trying to play this game? You're not even invited. Like, nobody wants you in it. Look, these guys, man, they do compete with each other. They do have different problems. But look, it's so different if you have 10 or 15 million people coming through your website every quarter than if you have 20. It's a very different game, right? Like with some businesses, like my friend, like his whole audience is 96,000. He can't use that same funnel and thing. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's a different sales process. For me, I also, when I look at like course creators, and I've spoke with Thinkific. I did some stuff with them. Looked at Teachable, maybe 50, 60,000, Udemy much more, but still like, these are different audiences, like.
Are you talking about their email list or their course creators' email lists?
Their email list.
Yeah.
Because for me, like the clients for the most part would be the course creators, Right. But then once again, when I look at the people that I actually do want to work with and that I can help, that's like at 20% of their list too. So it makes it even smaller. On the upside, the qualified. But on the upside, I only need 1 or 2 clients per month at the most. Some of them stick with me for a year and a half. I'm good. But you got to think with your course too, right? Like, what's your market look like? What is your price point? Sometimes the course might be a loss leader for your high-end item, and I have some people like that too. They sell something on the back end that's between $8,000 and $15,000. They don't need a lot of traffic. They need a few qualified sales per month at the most, and they're fine. So, when you copy these ideas, you sort of have to stick to a similar level that you're at and a similar, I guess, field. Like if you're selling something for about $47 and you have millions of people, you should kind of copy people that do that. Don't go after someone like Tony that, gets people into like a $20,000 conference. That's his play. It's very different, So reverse engineering is sometimes dangerous. If you don't understand what they're doing and more of the entire, the vision, the whole field, than just, I reverse engineer their website.
Yeah, good stuff. Sorry, I got a scratchy throat, so I had to get some more water going there.
Yeah.
You want to transition to questions?
Yeah, let's do it. I think we covered quite a bit. I also, I was a little worried about this because this is a bit overwhelming. I tried to only touch on a few things, but, these are things I've learned over 20 years plus of marketing and sales.
Thank you for bringing like a stack of value. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just maybe too much. Like often, I kind of worry about that sometimes. People might just be like, oh, that's over my head a bit, maybe too much. I don't get this point yet. And I've been like that too sometimes. So,
I just want to say, I think even if you that's watching this now or on the replay, there might just be one part of this that jumped out at you and you got something from, and that's the price of admission, or maybe the whole thing and the whole buyer's journey resonated with you. But I find it's very solid. I appreciate it. And I do know what you mean. There's a lot of experience and time on the street that goes into figuring out all these different like nuggets of wisdom. So
yeah, and as you do it more and more, it becomes easier, no doubt. But don't think anyone's been born a salesperson. What I usually find with sales teams, because I've worked on a lot, I worked for a lot of major corporations when I was getting my sales skills up. The best salespeople are the ones who prospect every single day. That's usually what separates them from the people who are just like, I'm just going to leave 20 voicemails and sit here and wait for something to come in. That's the main thing between these, born salespeople. They prospect. If you were looking at the 80-20 of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll just share before we get into questions with me personally. And one of the things you mentioned was, for me, I'm a natural content marketer, podcaster, YouTube videos, blogger, Facebook, social media. I create a lot of content. But I've been carrying this little baby elephant around, putting a little bit of money like in Facebook ads. And I just want to tell you and the entire audience here, the elephant's not getting bigger. I don't know what it is, but paid Facebook is not my strength. So anyways, I just really resonated with that story because you hear that story, and I've tried that, and I've tried a lot of different things. And I'm sure sometimes I have phoned it in on my Facebook ad and not really, really put everything I had into it, more just trying to get it done kind of thing. So
yeah, but this is a normal thing, right? That's why I just wanted to point this out because I see it so much. So it's nothing like against you, but even just the quality of the traffic on Facebook is different than it used to be. The amount that you need to spend per lead is different. A couple years ago, you could spend $1 or $2 and get a lead. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen. It's so different. So, and then a lot of things which you hear is just people telling stories, just to sell a service. And often they don't know what they're doing. And like I said, I call out some of them on some bullshit in a few groups. I'm like, look, no, you're not. No, you're not. Show me. Because I'm doing this. I'm doing this with a lot of clients. Like, I know it works. Like, you can't bullshit. I'm like, after I've done 75 clients and put them on Facebook, plus other businesses and SEO clients, overall maybe 500 people I've ran through Facebook, like you know, you're not going to sell me on your dreams. You know, and I'm like, you know, some of them mention outliers. You know, well, like I said, you know, this one person that maybe it happened to. But I'm like, for the most, it's not. It's not. Don't lie. And especially if you think of it from this perspective, you know, you got this little guy pitching you Facebook ads for your online course. You got to pay him $500, and then you got a $500 budget. If you remember what I said about the return, the 1x on cold traffic, which most of them will put through, okay, you lost $500 from the bat.
Yeah.
Most of them can't even pull that off because, you know, initially it's hard. So they might make $250 on your $500. So now you spend $1,000, $500 for the ads, $500 for this genius, and you made $250. That's $750 that you lost. They forget to mention all this stuff, right? The cost of outsourcing too. You know, realistically, they would say, okay, I'm charging you $500, but you need to have $2,000 in your budget, and this is why. Because now maybe I spend $2,000 of your money, I make $2,000 on cold traffic, and then I'll put $250 into remarketing. They'll make an extra $500, and you just broke even with my cost.
But now we're moving.
Yeah. But you see what I mean, right? You know, they don't sell the real story on it. You know, they make it seem easy, but it's like, look, I know what happens. They churn and burn, right? They'll take you on. They'll take you for 2-3 months, and you're like, this isn't working. Yeah, no shit. And you leave, and they just get another person on and another person on, right? That's their whole game. And it's not really, you know, their fault completely because they just don't know what they're doing other than just making a bit of money. But realistically, you need to understand the numbers. You know, when you hire someone, it's like, okay, if you're telling me I can spend this much and that doesn't make sense. Like I told people with small budgets, look, if you put 500 in, that's good for a test. And what I will help you do is get you on the right track from what I think it is, from my experience. But, you know, don't think this is going to, you know, be your lottery ticket. You know, this is not enough, you know, and don't be lazy. Prospect.
Well, I'm going to transition into questions, and I'm going to go straight to Skip, who has a question about money investment. He said, what effect will $5,000 have on, you know, some marketing or let's say Facebook ads? And I see you have your hand up, Skip, but you want to touch on that, or I can just bring him live right here? Actually, I believe you just took your hand down, Skip. If you do want to come chat live, just put that hand back up. But if not, that's cool. The
answer is, I don't know. I need more information, way more information than that. That's why I mentioned, you know, with my clients, if you go to wemarketonlinecourses.com and you click on, you know, I want to book a call, we have a quiz that asks a lot of questions. And even then, I'll have a lot more questions when I get on the call. Look, to know what $5,000 will do, whoever you're talking to, they need to ask you a lot of questions. They need to go through some research. They need to go through your funnel. They need to see what's been working, what's not, what you have tried. There's a lot of moving pieces there, you know, when it comes to marketing. You know, it's not that simple. It's not like, it's like when someone says, how much do you ask for my service? I don't know. Go to your dentist and sit in the chair and say, how much are you going to charge me? Without they even looked, you know, they haven't looked at your mouth yet. You know, the dentist is going to be like, I don't know. Like, what's wrong with you?
Skip, can you hear us here?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
First of all, it could be clear. So by 5G, I was talking about, you know, 4G and 5G, the web, the Wi-Fi. Is that going to have any effect on?
Oh, my bad. I thought you were talking about $5,000.
No, I was talking about 5G. But that's okay. I got to get 2 questions for one.
So the speed of the internet, you mean?
Yeah, I'm wondering what that's going to have any effect upon our business.
I'm a country bumpkin. I just got 4 LTE or 4G, 3G or whatever. So I didn't even know 5 was coming, but I'd be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have any effect. You know, I've seen someone grow a business to almost 500K on like a dial-up before. Yeah. You know, they were in Australia, and I don't know if you know anything about Australia, but they have horrible internet for the most part. Even, you know, the regular internet now is like 1/10 of what we get in the US. It's horrible. Like, it's hard to even do a Skype call, you know, in a lot of the areas. Like they you know, they have some people making a lot of cash. You know, it's not about the internet. That's got nothing to do with your success.
Any other questions while you got you live here, Skip?
No, I'm listening. I like what he had. Tom had to say there. Good thing this is recorded because I couldn't take notes that fast. And,
see, and he was like feeling bad. Like I just brought a lot here, and that's what he did. He brought a lot, and he covered a lot of ground.
he
So
did.
it's definitely worth it re-listen.
Made a lot of sense too.
Cool. Well, I'm going to bring you back down, and we're going to take some more questions.
Okay.
Feel free to hang out. Thanks for coming up. All right. And we are going to announce our winner here in just a little bit, who won the $99 Amazon deal. Or not Amazon deal, sorry, the Lifter LMS deal. You mentioned Amazon so many times today. That's why I don't. So Darren asks, he says, the biggest problem he has is that his product is the traffic on his site. He offers a free course to the students and then sells them as leads to his second market. So how do I entice them to become active on the site and use the course for free? I don't have anything I'm asking them to buy. I'm not sure if that's enough information for me, but do you have any comments on that, Tom? Or Darren, do you want to chat live and kind of fill in more detail?
Well, since we talk about online courses, if he's getting a free online course and people are going through it, that means the online course is working, right?
Yeah.
So the bigger problem is he's just got a actually very common problem, right? Is he has nothing to sell. He's got to figure that out. There's so many people I speak to.
Oh yeah, hold on. I got some more information here. Just his mic doesn't work. He says it's real estate education.
Okay.
Then he sells the students as leads to real estate agents.
Okay, so
it sounds like a little bit of an interesting model. It sounds like a free real estate course that then he sells, like it's probably something like a home buyer's course.
Yeah.
And then he sells those like buyer leads to real estate agents, something like that.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So the main challenge here is, and like I said, if you have something time sensitive, that's all you can do, right? You can sell those leads, or you can sell them a house. Because the thing is, they're only in the market for a bit, right? But what you can do is stay in front of them for years, because a lot of these people, and this is what real estate agents do, that are successful, same as life insurance people, they stick in front of clients for many years, so you become that source. So the next time that they want to buy or sell a house, but see, this is a problem too, because you're selling the lead, right? So if the real estate person just took care of him, that's the one that's going to do a better job than you probably, to staying in front of them, right? You're giving away your list, and whoever controls the list and the client, that's who's got the business, right? So you're basically a middleman. You have a middleman business and middleman problems. And unless you have something where you are the ones selling something on the back end and controlling this process, that's your business model.
Yeah, that's good. Somebody's just trying to find your website. They went to wemarketonlinequizzes.com.
Yeah, it's courses.com.
But it's We Market Online Courses, and I just put a link in your answer there, James. wemarketonlinecourses.com, and Tom's also over at smartbrandmarketing.com.
Yeah, if you go on there and you click on the podcast, and there's a little tab that says online courses, some great conversations on there too. I always bring people on that are pretty successful with them. And lately, I've brought on the co-founder of Thinkific too. So we've definitely got some value out of that too. So if you want more information, you should go on there too and check it out. Some really good people on there.
So is that the best way to get a hold of you, at wemarketonlinecourses.com?
Either that or just Smart Brand Marketing and the contact info. But with the courses, if you need some help marketing, without that quiz, I know nothing, right? And that's the only way to really book a call. Yeah.
I really respect that about you, how you can't just give you money, you can't just pay for it, you got to do some diagnostics.
A lot. Because I don't know, like you might just, not be in a position to even get help at the moment yet. You got to help yourself first, It's like the thing on the airplane, right? Put your own mask on first.
Right. Exactly. Could you comment a little bit about the difference between LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as like audiences or the types of people there? Or like you mentioned, chiropractors and LinkedIn, and that seemed better. Like, how do we choose a social media, angle?
So with YouTube, it's dominated by men for the most part. They've done studies on it, even though you see a lot of, women coming up with cool stuff on there and all these makeup tutorials and things, right? Because my girlfriend's always watching it. It's dominated by guys, right? So if you have something sold mostly to men, YouTube might be, your pull marketing strategy. Are you comfortable on video? It's probably the bigger block here. A lot of people are scared of video and they're not comfortable. And if you're not comfortable doing something, it's going to come through. Facebook might be easier, but see, with Facebook too, you have two different options. You can join groups and, just give out good content without being spammy, or salesy, or you can do paid traffic. Facebook is more, I guess a little more used by women than men, just like Pinterest, that's completely women. So you can think about it that way a little bit too. It depends on what you're selling to. I would need to know the niches, and then it would, do a little bit of testing, and we could quickly figure that out. LinkedIn is really good for selling to professionals. If you have something that you need to hit a certain target of people, like I'm selling training for gym owners, or I'm selling something for dentists. Like, dude, that's a gold mine. That is a gold mine. If you're showing something through videos a lot in your course, I would probably try with YouTube. That's what helped us with the Muay Thai thing too. We were able to get really good conversions from YouTube paid ads as well. And just a little nugget here, and I think I mentioned this on the show when we talked before. With YouTube marketing, the banner ad, the 250 by 250 on the right-hand side, that's the cheapest and best option to start with. If you are going to market on YouTube, the prices also went up by about 30% since we spoke last time.
Okay.
So it's all getting more expensive. But yeah, and let me give you this little nugget too. I was in a Thinkific group, and someone came up with a course on a completely unrelated subject, and she's asking people in Thinkific, it's something about music training, what they think about the course. And I'm like, you need to leave now, immediately. You need to go to Pro Tools, Sonar, all these other, companies that have tools that people are using and want to become singers, and you need to ask them that question. Be in the right place.
Not other course creators. I think that's a great point. I mean, it's easy to hang out with and rub shoulders with people doing similar things, but they're not the best places to get feedback.
They're a horrible place. I'm like, who here is trying to become singers in this group? Who? Maybe one. There's an outlier in the back. But that's not the right place to ask these questions. I was like, you need to leave right now and go to these groups. And I gave her a couple ideas, and she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I was like, yeah, I know.
That's awesome. Darren has a question. If he's got his course together, like content, hasn't launched yet, what would you advise is like the immediate kind of next steps, or what's next step on the action plan?
Sell a couple organically. This is how you're going to figure out what that sales process looks like. Before that, figure out exactly what you are selling, who you are selling it to, and what is the value in the transformation. Because you're going to need those three things to even sell organically, to even know who you're going after initially. You need those. You can't skip that part.
And there's nothing wrong with a little prospecting to go sell those first couple copies, right?
Prospecting is key.
Outbound sales.
Outbound sales, or inbound too. That's why I mentioned pull marketing a lot, because it's easier, right? It's easier to show a lot of value somewhere and have people kind of checking out for more if you're not comfortable and pushing that prospecting thing initially. So, take some of the best nuggets and position them in like 20, 30 different ways and see which one pulls people in. You might get one that keeps pulling people in constantly, one small problem and one position of that problem, and that could be your paid traffic too later on.
Yeah, that's super solid. I wanted to ask you a question before we go, and we've just drawn the winner. So if you're here on the call, hang out after this answer. We're going to announce the winner. But my question for you is: you mentioned the emails for a year.
Yeah.
I send a ton of email. So if you're here on this call, let me know if you think I send too much email. I have email sequences that go on for a year. But I've actually observed, and this is software sales, not course sales.
Yeah.
But doesn't work for everybody. But I see some people take a year and a half before they decide to buy something. And they read a great email. And some emails like ask them to hit reply and we have a little conversation about something. It does work. But my question for you is not about the year, because when you were talking about that, I'm like, I understand it. I do think for some people it's too much, but I don't, there's got to be another way to do that or figure out the frequency better. But what do you think is, in terms of a lead magnet for a course creator to even get on that email sequence or newsletter or whatever it is? What's a good opt-in lead magnet these days? Is it ebooks? Is it email mini courses? Is it checklists?
Checklists.
Checklists.
It's the hottest in this quarter. I don't know why. They just, for some reason, came back. But once again, don't get tied into these little tips and strategies and things like, don't worry, like, oh, I need to create a checklist or a video. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Just we got to test these things. But yeah, it's checklists at the moment. They do work better than some of the other ones. People like to have something they can print out and look at in 15 seconds. And if you can make it something that people do want to print out, so it's got to make sense in your niche, something that they will use as a small resource, that's gold. People do love that.
Yeah, I think if the lead magnet is, if they open it and they don't regret it and they love it and like you said, print it out and do stuff with it, now you've got their trust. And I want to say thank you to Skip for not saying I send too many emails that it keeps you informed. That's Skip. Douglas McKee, you're the winner of the free year of a $99 add-on, or if you're already a customer, we'll apply that to your license. Let's all give Tom a big thank you in the chat. And what is the best way for people to get up with you again? Can you let them know if they want to go deeper on what you've got going on? What are the options?
Just come to Smart Brand Marketing. I think that's where I'm most active. I do post some things on socials, but if you go on the website, you can hit up my socials, Twitter or Facebook. But overall, I'm fairly quiet with what I do. Right? I don't scream as loud as some of the guys that will be pitching you Facebook ads for your courses.
That's what I like about you, man. I've actually been working through your podcast a little bit, and I'm like, you're not screaming loud. You have strong opinions, and you have a lot of experience with stuff that works, but you're not screaming at people, which is awesome.
No, I don't pitch very hard too. We actually only now edit that damn thing. Like, if you need help with marketing, come to this at the end of the podcast. After 100 episodes, it is very subtle at the end. Just if you want help, just come. But I'm not I'm already because I work. I spend my time working. That's what I focus on. The screaming is not really. So when I did the music, right, and this was a common thing in the hip hop industry. Yeah. We always laughed at the underground shows. We had more people on the stage than in the audience.
Okay.
Because everyone wanted to be a hip hop star. No one wanted to be the listener, right?
Yeah, be a player.
So we always laughed at the people that scream the hardest usually know the least. They're like. And I don't know, but you can probably think about your school experience. When you went to high school or middle school, and you think of the kids who are always the loudest and scream the most.
Yeah,
they were usually a bit, there's something off.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Right.
I just want to say, James, thanks for also saying I don't send too many emails. Keeps you focused and keeps you motivated. So thanks, James, for that.
Yeah, but I appreciate people coming in. If they stuck through this whole webinar, that's you now have I would say 60 or 70% more knowledge than the average online course creator. You've sat through something which most people don't even take the time to sit through or even think about. You now have things you're going to think about. Look, if you want to get better answers, you got to ask better questions. And sometimes it's hard to figure out what those questions are until you get a different perspective on things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wasn't raised a salesperson or a marketer. It took me a while to get a baseline of skills. What you've done in just under a couple hours here about the buyer's journey, and also what's working today in online business and courses specifically, and even the little things like the differences between remarketing and cold traffic, and how dramatic the difference is of what you focus on and how to think about working with somebody on all that stuff is super valuable. So thanks so much for coming on with us, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.